The temptation to click no, right? All right, welcome back, everyone. Good to see you again. All right, we are here. So, right before ending the session, Abdullah said academic writing should rely more on paraphrasing than on frequent direct quotations. No, it's not about the quantity. It's about the method of like the strategy of choosing it. That should be selectively. And welcome back, everyone, again. Ian Lee Ibrahim said academic writing should rely on the author's analysis with quotations used selectively rather than Ian Lee. But we don't see here the idea of academic writing relying on the author's analysis. So if you go back to my sentence, which was quotations in academic writing need to be applied selectively. Like, I need to keep this. I cannot change this because there's no other word like this, right? Instead of as the main methods, instead of method, I can say strategy, mean. It would be offish, means of the main primary. Instead of the primary, let's say, let's keep method. Primary methods of method of presenting information instead of quotations. Okay, I think it's good. This one. Oh, I forgot. Was I sharing already? Yeah, I am. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So the dot should be placed at the end of the sentence after the citation. Merve Akfalay, are you here? This is week 10. All right. So research becomes more convincing when writers actively compare sources and evaluate the quality of evidence. How would you rephrase that, and which strategy would you use here? Yumadila, which strategy are you choosing? Yuma, you here? Okay. So if we go back and look at this, actually we could start doing it. So instead of convincing, we could say persuasive. Writer. Instead of writer, what can we say? Author. Great, Mehmet. Authors. Research is strengthened. Research is strengthened when authors critically compare different sources and assess the reliability of the evidence. Research is strengthened. So instead of strengthened, can we have something else? Because it feel very, doesn't feel like it belongs there. When sources are attentively compared and evidence quality is instead of evaluate, what do we have? Assessed. Assess and even quality and social research. Research. Like what research? Like research becomes more convincing. Like research piece, right? Research paper, research. I see research article. Research. Let's say keyboard research instead of becomes research becomes more persuasive instead of become. research gains a more convincing nature. Research gains a more convincing nature. It's not very good, but does the job. And Abdullah said, research becomes more rigorous. So this part is from me, and the remaining part is from Abdullah. That also works, Abdullah Mahmet. Evren Taşdemir, are you here? Go. Next up, let's do one more, and then we'll finish this part. You realize that, right? So the dots are at the end after the citations over here. So if you have done the dot before the citation in the midterm exam, you lost 1 point. And if you used the name instead of the surname, you also maybe lost a point. And of course, if you haven't done anything, you lost the whole thing. So now we're here. False news spreads farther and faster on social media than true news in many situations. False news spreads farther and faster on social media. True news do not does not spread as further and faster. Not sure. Farther and faster. Yes. Further, farther. Hello? Okay. Rumors. Rumors and false news, they are different things, so we cannot accept that. It's, it's far and fast, far and fast as is news. News. Again, it's not a perfect one. Not bad though. So let's see what else we can change. In most cases, False news spreads farther and faster. In most cases, false news spreads, right? Spreads further and more rapidly than true news on social media. All right, not so bad because true news in many situations. Okay, many situations refer to, does it refer to true news only or true news plus false news? There's an ambiguity there. Both false news spreads far, most cases. Policy, no, false is like false news, false, false and fake. Are they the same thing? I think fakes are on purpose. False are just stemming from inaccurate information. Speed of light, that's something else. Like we don't have that information here. Policy is actually a noun, not a adjective, ing, so that's why we can't use it. Or we could say, how did we forget this? Osoki et al. Reports that false news spread very, very far and fast compared to false news spread very far and fast, further and faster, further and faster compared to true news. So, uh, farther is actually used for physical distances for like since on social media, like the news are not about the physicality. So I would choose further, but if I had to use farther and if I cannot find any spread, sorry, if I cannot find any, I could choose false news spreads farther and faster. So I could put quotation marks over here, you see? Farther and faster on social media. Um, so I only kept this part from the original source. I can do it on the papers that I'm writing. However, those should not be enough. Like those should not be too much. If you can remember, we said 5 or 10% is okay, but more than 10% of the whole essay cannot be direct quotations. So, Bosogi et al. 2018 reports that, oh, false news spreads farther fast on social media compared to true news. False that in many cases. Okay, there are two problems in this sentence. Let's see who can spot them. Spot the two problems here. Ege Sengül, are you here? Hı hı. Şevval Güzel, are you here? Citation could be at different places. It could be anywhere in the sentence. As long as you give, I said, okay. Um, yeah, like as long as you have the date, the year, as long as you have the surname, you're good. Etan means others. Osagi and his friends. So two problems here. Quotation marks are not problems because I wanted to keep this part from the original source. Okay, spot the two mistakes. I will ask this in the exam because I like spotting mistakes. And it really shows critically if you have understood the stuff. Quotation marks are correct because I wanted to keep this part from the original source. No, the parenthesis, it's correct. Let me show you something. Let me show you something. So this is correct. And inside of the quotation marks are correct. We have, sorry, we have one or two problems and one missing thing. So the green ones are correct already. You don't need to focus on that. No, compared to true news is okay. This is also the correct use. Comma missing after in many cases. In many cases. I'm not sure, but let's have it there. But that was not I was trying to focus on. Okay, well, ask it in the Instagram or Telegram group. Your friends will help you. But trying to remember your score, but I'm not sure. Or send a DM to me right now here. I'll check it. Does the citation have to be in all brackets? No. If I want to use a specific part of the original source, I can use it in quotations like this, but I cannot do this too often in a text. But when I cannot find any other synonyms, and if I think that I cannot convey the message in any other ways with any other words, then I could use this quotation marks. Okay, Ian Lee. Yes, you're right. Since this is they report. You got it. This is this was the first mistake. Yeah. It should have been report. Okay. This is also correct. Yes, Abdullah. Miram, yes. Yes, Ian Lee. Okay. So give me a second. I will check OKView score. Where did you take the exam, OKView? Okay, I cannot find it. Not now. Okay, I found it. Okay. Check OBS, but your score was this. I sent you. I sent you your score. Okay. Should be used for the entire. Abdullah Mohammed, we cannot, like, we don't have to use quotations for the entire sentence. No. Because I am like, this is my sentence. Sorry. This is my bit. This is my bit. These are my bits. And this is my bet compared to, because the original one did not say compared to. This is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, of course, I wrote it, but this is not mine. So I only use quotation marks for the pieces that are not mine. Okay. Second mistake, not the mistake, but missing thing was this. Okay. If we are using the direct quotation here, we should give the page number, for example, page 25. So it shows that if you go to page 25 in Wasogi's 2018 study, I can find, or you can find a sentence which includes these verbs in the exact order. This page 25 could be in here as well. This is better for you here. But personally, I would choose the other way. So they report, this was the another one. So let me, um, okay. Okay, let's finish this one up. Let's move on to summarizing. Your 4 year at the university will require some type of summarizing in either projects, again, presentations, works, and graduation thesis, etc. So we are covering summarizing. Here are some keywords which you are already familiar with: academic misconduct, citation, and discussion, paraphrase, reference list, supporting point. You all know it. Coherent, it's the quality of being logical and consistent. Ideas are linked together and easy to follow. So summarizing is similar to paraphrasing. The critical difference is that summarizing is used to express many ideas or very long, complex ideas into a few sentences. However, in paraphrasing, you paraphrase an idea or a single sentence into another. The steps to complete a summary are very similar to those used in creating a paraphrase, resulting in the idea being presented in your own words. Okay. I know nowadays students, if they need to summarize, they would probably use AI. But if you do it for yourself, first you have to read and critically analyze the source material, take notes, and then write a summary of your notes. So when you are critically analyzing the source material, um, you should see if the idea being presented in a paragraph, for example, is the whole thing, or does it continue in the upcoming paragraphs? Like, make sure that you have read the related part fully. Or yeah, like the idea could have been presented across the entire source. So just by looking at a single paragraph or a sentence or a page or a few pages wouldn't be enough. And in the end, don't forget to reference. Uh, in the final exam, you don't need to summarize. You don't need to do the activity of summarizing, the exercise of summarizing. Do you need to know a lot about summarizing? When it comes to this course, no, there's not a lot to know here. Okay. It's like deconstructing a piece. So there's an example, like 4 paragraph long text over here. And first you read it, take some notes, maybe take the main ideas from the each one. And then it shows that uh, it shows an example of some notes over here. So you can see 3 main ideas presented across the 4 paragraphs. We're not spending much time on the reading it, actually reading it. And using these 3 ideas, a summary could be written as follows. So these are our notes, and here's a summary. Graham in 2018 suggests that the most Chinese students commit plagiarism due to lack of understanding surrounding rules of ownership. Since they do not understand the concept of ownership in academic writing, they commit plagiarism. He adds that this could be a result of the high school education system encouraging the use. Yeah, high school taught them differently, encouraging the use of others' words in their writing, possibly that growing up in a digital age has conditioned them to be comfortable with the act of illegally sharing copyrighted material. The internet makes it easier to access and copy information. And this generation is family, so-called, like they are claimed to be familiar with illegally sharing files online, and they show a lack of understanding or care of ownership. All right. So this is a single source, right? What levels up your writing here actually is something else. Salman Fahris, are you here? So the other thing is this. If you read any other source regarding the Chinese students committing plagiarism or any other groups of students from any other part of the world that commits plagiarism, and if you can also spot the other main ideas here, such as the lack of understanding of ownership or not caring about the ownership or being in the digital age, if you see these repeated ideas in other works by others, then you can use more than a single citation here. So let's say we have, of course, Graham, and let's say we have, I don't know, John. John is a name, so let's find a surname. Let's say Black. And Black, so Graham in 2018 suggests that most Chinese students commit plagiarism due to lack of understanding surrounding the rules of ownership. This understanding is also evident in let's say Australia, as suggested by Black 2022. Here we show that we have read not only Graham, but also the Black. And those two have some type of similar ideas, or they found some type of similar results in their studies. So, personally, as the one who's writing this, I have read, took notes, and combined these ideas and produced a new sentence uh, head by the previous two studies. And the coherency comes into play here when we focus on more than a single study, and then we merge those studies ideas into a single one. For the purposes of our own study, we need to be careful about coherence, whether we are telling the same thing, like whether these two researchers are telling the same thing, and they have the same, like they have similar ideas or contrasting ideas. It doesn't matter um, as long as you state that. For example, after I finished due lack of understanding surrounding rules of ownership, on the contrary, um, let's say Whitehead, that's a surname. Whitehead thinks the um, the concept of ownership is open to disputes. And then I can continue with Graham and where he adds the high school criteria, like high school aspect of this committing plagiarism thing. Okay. If you have any problems regarding 9.3, now it's the time to speak up because we're moving on to translation for the last 10 minutes of our course. Okay, now you know all of these keywords. Anyone from translation department? Anyone from translation department? Okay, Mehmet. Who else? Görkem. So, can you guys give me a single strategy or a rule when it comes to translation? Something you learned, a very general rule for everyone here. For example, I would say, as long as the meaning is retained, the structure might be different. No, for those guys only. As long as the meaning is retained, the format, the structure of the sentence could be different. I'm just making it up, but I think it goes for translation. And of course, depending of the type of the piece here, type of the academic product here. So if it is a poem, you could also want to keep the structure in a way. Okay. So sometimes sources are English, sometimes sources that you're taking advantage from, they are Turkish. And sometimes you have to write it in English or in Turkish. So it depends. And the end product you will write might not be coherent with the resources that you read. So you might be reading English sources, but you may have to write in Turkish or vice versa. At this point, translation becomes important. So, first off, I could say do not use Google Translation. And we have better options. Tell me those better options if you know those. No, I'm talking like, does Turing have translation? ChatGPT, I don't know. It just gives you something. You don't have, yeah, DeepL. DeepL is very cool. So let's check DeepL altogether. I have to switch back and forth between Turkish and English here in this piece of our session. So from English to Turkish. The important thing to remember, unutmaması gereken önemli nokta, very good, is that you need to use your own work throughout your paper. Makalenizin tamamında kendi kelimelerinizi kullanmanız gerektiğidir. Do you think that's a good translation? Guys, give me a second. I have an important. Guys, I'm back. Sorry. That was an important call from my grandma. Okay, Cambridge Dictionary, does it have the translation thing? I'm not talking about dictionaries, by the way. Irmak Küskü, be careful. Your camera might be on. It shows a black screen now, but be careful. Oh, let me do it for you. Okay, I stopped your video. Okay, so the best thing about DeepL is this. So, for example, maybe you don't want to say makale when it comes to paper. Maybe you want to say yazı, text, right? So you can change it over here. Unutulmaması, things, a thing that shouldn't be forgotten. So maybe you could say hatırlanması gereken, the point to remember. ChatGPT doesn't give you this flexibility, right? Doesn't give you those. And of course, there are lots of other choices, etc., everything. But you need to have, of course, the premium thing, as always. Okay, Ian Lee, what are you talking about? Like, which Turkish version of translating? You're talking about DeepL? Like, this has nearly every language here. And it could also.
Hatırlanması gereken önemli nokta, makalenizin tamamında kendi ifadelerinizi kullanmanız gereklidir.
It's a bit different. Let's hear this one.
The important thing to remember is that
It's very robotic. I didn't like it. So let's click on this DeepL voice. Okay, you have to. The important thing to remember when it comes to academic writing is to keep a coherency. It's translating in written language. Oh, not bad. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. When it comes to translation, I think we should use the AI-powered platforms like DeepL exactly for adjusting things. Let's imagine that you have read an English source and you translated it and you used it in your own paper without any citation or reference. Is this plagiarism? Yes, it is, because it is the ideas that matter and you used others' ideas here. Your translations should be done in the same way as a paraphrase. Read the source, understand the meaning, write down some notes, and then write down the ideas presented from your notes. And then do not forget to provide a citation and entry in the reference list. Okay, let's see when we have started this lesson. Okay. So courses that are taught in English will often encourage or even require you to conduct your research in English. There are some cases where foreign language sources are unavoidable, and if you're able to locate a professional translated source, then you should use this version as evidence in your essay. But if you understand English very well, of course, always use the primary source. And at cases you need to translate the source yourself, try to think of translations as a paraphrase back. Okay. And there will be some cases where you need to translate the sources. However, the sources might not be in the copyable, like kopyalanabilir, cannot be in the. Let me check if this ever copyable. Yeah, copyable. So some PDFs online might not be, or pictures copyable, like you cannot copy the sentences there. At this point, most of the time AI could actually do object recognition, right? So let's imagine that I cannot copy the source. So I take a picture of it and come here and check if ChatGPT can. OCRs. See, it transforms the text on the picture to a copyable, see, copyable sentences here. Okay. In the next session, we will move on to quotations, then finish it off with an activity with a test altogether. And do you have any questions before we move on? All right. Uh, Oge, okay. Ogechuk, please type your question in the Telegram group. You don't need to mark your attendance here. Ask your questions in Telegram. Your friends will help you. Okay? Because we are going to finish off the session. Yeah. And I will be there, I promise. All right. So see you in 10 minutes. 10 is cool, so that we will leave early today. 10 dakika zaman geçiyor. Okay, let's set up our timers for 10 minutes. Hope to see you in 10. Bye bye for now.